So, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to merge these two parts together. This part came out okay, but it's not 100% perfect. I had a part here that went over this, but it felt too stickly in a way. And I'd like to thank those who sent me photographs or pictures or ideas that maybe I should look at nature itself. Obviously a horse, and showing off how the back legs work. So, you know, we all know that the legs are like this, and it should be something like, kind of like that. But I'm not feeling it that way. And it doesn't have to completely be, you know, reminiscent to a horse. I know this is a bit stupid, so yes, it has to be something like that. And my worry is not this being in this position. My worry is how I'm going to connect this to this. And that kind of like threw me off right there. Looking at the parts that I have. And I said to myself, you know, clearly this part is not the answer. It is in a way where it actually can connect to it. But this ball joint I don't want to use, and I wanted something where it can actually latch on and stay on into place. And I don't think that does, you know, I don't think putting a polycap there is going to work. No. It has to be something strong, something a little bit more tough. So I was trying to figure out what to do here. Thankfully, my recent purchase is going to help me out, I guess. I purchased this this little tool called the Chopper 2. This is a product to cut and chop, you know, styrene sheets or wood, if you're into woodworking. And I needed something where I had some more stability to hold on my parts while I cut this. My last scratch building kit that I was making, which was the Burst Rowdy, I was afraid of me cutting parts with my knife because sometimes you could slip and you could. I want something that's a little bit more accurate. This one's accurate up to that point, but it was sufficient enough to work on something that I want to show you. Taking the thick plow plate that I got from the that scratch building class that I went a while back, I took some parts, cut it up into slices, and I took them to, here it is. It's not sanded down, but I merged them together using the Loctite glue. And yes, I know. Sorry if I said it wrong. Using the Loctite glue. Right now, this is a day's worth of drying. It's nice and tight, you could say. And I said I'm going to use this as a blank, as a kind of like a canvas. But I said let me do another one, because obviously I'm going to need two. So here's what it looks like without any modifications whatsoever. And here's the other one with this. As you can see there, I cut the hole dimension to the size of this. So I made sure that well, first thing I did was I measured it in the size that I needed. I drilled the hole. I used a little bit of a hobby knife to cut a bit, drill a little bit, but not too much. And then using a file, using two files here, I used this file to widen a bit, just a little bit. And since this file, which was a round file, had the right dimension size, I was able to sand it down evenly so it's nice and smooth. Now the thickness adds strength to this, and I put this here. It goes into place like so. So that goes up to there. I'm looking into the possibility of maybe cutting that and then bringing it a little bit further down, but this gives it a little bit more strength there. Which now brings me up to this. thinking of doing something like right up to there. Maybe bringing it down a bit further, so that way it could bend there and there. I'm more inclined, maybe, well, it's too thick for me to sand down to fit that little notch, and I don't think me drilling a hole and shoving that in there will work, so I may find a way to glue this on and permanently stay there, so it could work as a bridge to that. Yeah, this needs to be fleshed out a bit further more, so that way I have the right height, the right length, and the right width, so that way it could work. In reality, it's not going to be 100% perfect. It has to be 100% cool to look well, to be strong, and to look the part of two hind legs. So let me continue on and see what I can do. Okay. Well, still trying to figure this out now that this one's already established. And I did mention that I have, I have this plate there where we can go into this, but I found out that the notch that I was making was not big enough, or not, sorry, yeah, maybe big enough, because I was having a hard time sticking it in there, and the plastic ring, the circle part there is inside. I didn't want it to get crushed all the time. I wanted it to be firm, but not too tight. Because it was never designed for this type of stress, considering that I don't have a poly cap for that. So I need more refinement. Now lately I've gotten more tools. I got my my cutting board here, the chopper, which I was using to cut this a bit more. I cut it there and there, but you know what? Even though since this is 2 plates instead of 1, if it was 1 plate, the cut would have been nice and even. This one it was a little bit off a bit, and then I had to use my sanding stick, a file to sand it down, to round it out. In reality, this is not the final form. This connection is fine, but everything else around it is not complete, because I want to make sure that it fits well, and then I will begin to shave it off, detailing it a bit, because obviously there's going to be parts going around it and over it. But I need it to look like this, so I can grasp, the length and the height. So if I put this here, it now goes in fine with no big deal. And I may continue on this route where it's a little bit more stronger, or no, smaller. But the bigger issue is the leg, is putting this here. Now, like that, it's understandable, because I'm doing this scene where it's going to be sticking its leg out, like that. And I don't want to glue it like this, because I wanted to give it a little bit more a look where I can, Alright, so right now this leg I can turn this way like that. I can't, angle the legs. That's already a prefixed point. So this can only go there as far as it can. And that can turn that as well. I'll be working on this soon once I'm done with this. But I want this leg to turn like that. Just, whether it's a little bit or a lot. I don't want to glue this on. I want it to at least give it the ability to, give it some sort of movement or some sort of hold. This is where I think I'm going to run into the issue at hand. Don't know how much, because again, I don't know how well this kit will support its own weight. For starters, looking like that, and then whatever, because it's going to be on the stand when it's going to be at the show. But going back to this part is the one where I'm drawing some blanks, and I don't want to cut this and then glue it on. It looks stupid. I wanted to give it something that will at least mean it will hold it into place. So I figured out something, and maybe this will help out. So what I did was, I remember I put two little plastic parts here. I removed them, and I began to sand them down. I'll use this as an example. This one's more sanded down than the other one. This one I just cleaned up. But this one I sanded it down a bit to get it a little bit like that. So it's a little bit more rounder. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this polycap. This is one, I believe, I forgot what kit is for the polycap for this, but it will fit down to this. It is tight, but it's enough to turn it around. I may end up sanding it down a little bit further, but right now I like where it is. And then I'm going to create a rig here. First I'm going to cut the part here. Then I'm going to use some plow plate and get it to the dimension and size. Then drill holes along the side of the plow plate to hold this in. And then glue, hold it into the point where it'll stick, it'll stay on. I want to get it like nice and flush. That way I can stick this in and turn it left and right. Now I have the tools to cut these. That's good. And for precise measurements, I got myself a digital capillator, which will allow me to, get the right size for this. So give me a moment to try this out and see how it works. I still need to clean up a bit this one first, and then I'm going to clean up this one. Then I'm going to try this technique and see how it comes out. Alright, so might as well show you this. I did cut the part in the specific angle that I think I need, but I want to cut the other one to match it. So I'm going to even this out a bit just to hold it into place, and using my hobby knife, I'm just going to lightly pass a bit. Let me repeat the other side. Shift it a bit. There we go. It's not holding in. It holds it, but it shifts the part into different positions. So I'm going to try to do it freehand. That's fair enough. There we go. Now then, I'm going to align it properly because the angle is not, well, I could probably use one of these to hold it into place. Let me see if I can properly align it. I'm going to eyeball it a bit. I think I got it. Tighten that up a bit. Alright. Now I'm not going to do a complete chop because this thing is not aligned properly. I'm just going to find the groove a bit. There we go. It's hard to see this because it's all white. I should have marked. You know what? I should have used a marker. Actually, let me change something. Change spectacles. Get a nice close-up shot. There we go. Alright, I'm only going to do partial, then pull it up. Alright. Then I'm going to do this part here. There we go. Now it's cut evenly to a point. It's not 100% perfect because, of course, of how thick this plastic is, but I'm going to now sand it down, smooth it out, and then begin the process that I was talking about. Alright, now sometimes I would like to show you what I try to figure out during the course of me assembling the connection to this leg. And sometimes when I see something, I want to record it. I take photographs and to post it on Facebook or now Twitter. But sometimes, when you do something, you don't have time to record. You just go and do it and figure it out and see how it comes out. And with the recent cutting of those parts using my chopper, I was able to figure out how to set up the hind leg joint to connect to the rear leg. And the result was this, I would say, a rough draft of what you're about to see right here. This is the connector that I have prepared. Zoom in a bit so you guys can see this. So this one I had to go through several layers of styrene sheets using the same thickness, and I think it's a wise idea for me to do this because of how clearly this thing is going to go through a little bit of stress, and it needs something to hold it into place. I'm going to say that of all the polycaps that I was looking into to see if this will fit in, this one is the one that I had decided to choose, which is strong enough, but I had to sand this down to put it in there. We'll put it in a few moments. It also has a very, very wide diameter, so I had to use two smaller styrene sheets at this thickness. And if you guys want to know what thickness this is, might as well use this tool here. That's why I got it. Go to 0. This is, well, it says, wait a minute, it says 0.8 inches, but if I go into millimeters, it's 2 millimeters thick. There you go. So, right now, I got it in this position and in this angle. And I used the Loctite glue, yes, Loctite glue, to hold it into place. I give it about a good day to let the glue set in. It's very strong glue. It is, of course, not the most evenly perfect part that you see here. It needs to be refined, it needs to be curved, it needs to be shaped in a way where it's easy to, to conform with the leg. As you see, I try to cut this like this so I have a more maybe angular look to it. I'm going to continue on and see how I can do, but I don't want to go too much because I'm going to use other leftover Gundam, parts, plastic parts, to put over it to give it a more design, some sort of weird design look. But as you can see, this goes through here all the way, and it will allow me to turn left, up, like this and that. It doesn't go all the way forward, but I think that's okay. I'm accepting that. Back here, there's enough clearance for this, and I'm going to try to round this out maybe to do something, but I'm going to put something there to cover this up. I have an idea. I have to find I have a lot of styrene parts, the styrene sheets that's not flat. It's more curvature and round. So we'll discuss that later on. And I'm leaving this sticking up for now until I find something I can cover it. I'm going to cut it, of course, but I want to put something there, so I need to find out what I got. I got a lot of stuff here. Okay, so let's test this out. Let's move this over here a bit. Put that here. And it goes into place like so. Now, this one's here, but I've had some issues with this part of the leg. Actually, let me just lift this up so you can see this here. This part is starting to open up a bit, and it loses its strength. This thing is it keeps falling off a bit. Right now, it's holding by pressure, but this part is going to be definitely glued. Now, if I can glue this part together, and this falls into place like so, I have no problem. I'm okay with that. But if it keeps falling off, most likely this entire leg structure will be glued to the whole thing. But there it is. What do you think of that? It's a bit wobbly, of course. But remember that my intention would be also to make some sort of diorama. So I may end up bringing the legs up to here because, and see, I was a little wobbly now. Because I'm going to put, I'm thinking of doing some sort of weird rock-based structure where these two legs are hitting the ground while these ones are sticking up in the air. This may end up going further back just so it can do that type of positioning and posing, considering now that I can turn it like this with no problem. I'm going to flesh that out to see how that comes out. Of course, this thing is, again, stupidly wobbly, but I'm going to find a way to keep it still. But yeah, I figured it out. What do you guys think of that? All I need to do is refine it, clean it up a bit, smooth it down for this part, this part. Now I'll have to look into parts that will conform to here to the front. I don't know what I'm going to do with these little parts back here. I'm going to either cut them off or I don't know. I have an idea, but I don't want to say anything yet. You know what? Now that I'm looking at this, I'm going to try something here. I'm going to see if this thing can support its own weight. Ah, you see? I knew that was going to happen. Let's see, put that in there, squeeze that in. Alright, you see? That's, I guess, okay. But the thing with the front part is I'm now thinking of gluing these together. Don't know yet. It's a bit weird. I mean, it does look okay to the sides. It's just the back and the front, maybe not, you know. I know many of you guys are saying that doesn't look like a centaur, but guess what? This is the best I can do in how I'm thinking of how to make my kit. And speaking of which, let's, since we're talking about a centaur mode, can this support the weight of this? Let's see. So put that there. No. This back part is too back heavy. I need to find a way to reinforce this in a way where it'll stay up. The ball joint here doesn't help either. I'm not fond of the ball joint, but I think what I'm going to do is probably take the ball joint out of this. Oh, this thing is already starting to buckle. Maybe take the ball joint out, glue it into a specific position where this chest is always facing like this forward. Try to see if I can get that into position. In the end, it's still going to be on the stand because I don't trust. I mean, I trust myself, but don't trust myself at all that that idea will fly. So if I stick this here, put that there, stick it like this, like so. You see, here's the problem. Alright, I'm starting to see the problem here. It's stupidly back heavy. I can probably glue the connector here, but it will still go backwards. Not backwards enough to the point where it's going to bother me, because if I have the base here, actually, you know what? No. No. Oh. Let's see if we can try to get... No, it's too high, but it's somewhere around that line area. Alright. Yeah, it's still a work in progress, guys. This thing needs to be fixed in a way where it'll still have the legs front and forward. This has to be like this up front. This may have to be glued. But this has to be up front where, of course, hopefully, once this thing is glued on, I'll have the lance up front held up into place where the weight will shift to the forward. This is not good. This is not good at all. Oh my god. Some of the best laid ideas sometimes will work and sometimes it doesn't. I will share all my failures and success on my channel so you guys can see and judge me for what it is. See, that's fine. How it came out was fun. Alright. Alright, so I guess I'm going to now begin to clean up the parts, clean up this, stress test that leg again, then refine the back legs, refine the front legs, make something here, because I was going to think of doing something here. I may end up doing something on the side, but I don't want to use those stupid clamp type thingamabobs. And then I'm going to begin the upper structure of the arms, the chest area. I'm going to probably cut open these back things because I'm going to do something with them too. I'm also looking into making a different type of shoulder armor on the front body, and we'll go from there. All right, fun stuff, guys. Fun stuff. Let's hope we can figure this out together in time for Comic-Con.